Welcome to the Business Spotlight podcast. My name is Kay Cote, and I'm your host for today's episode. And today I have Jerry Carreno, co-founder of Sincere Hospitality, as my guest. We're going to be learning about his business, his journey to business ownership, best practices he's learned along the way, as well as challenges that he's faced to give you an inside look to what it's like to run and operate a business. If this is your first time on our channel, be sure to like and subscribe to get notified when we drop episodes like this. Welcome, Jerry. Thanks for being here today. It's great to meet you.
Thank you, Kay. It's the same here. It's an honor to be here. Thanks so much for the invite.
Of course. Well, before we get into all things business, I'd love to learn a little bit about you. Can you share a bit about yourself?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm originally from Mexico. I'm from Guadalajara, the land of tequila and mariachi. And I was sent over about 13 years ago to head the development and the repositioning of a big monster hotel in downtown Detroit, right when Detroit had declared itself in bankruptcy. And so we had taken that hotel out of foreclosure, we turned it around, and long after that, short after that, I'm sorry, the company decided to continue its growth throughout the US. So I've been traveling through California, Houston quite a bit, and then I moved to Austin in 2020 with my family. I have my lovely wife and my three kids. I have two boys and a little girl, Emilia. And we've lived in Austin for the past 5 years where we, started our own business. It was Door Capital. We raised capital from Mexican nationals. We, invite them to invest in the US, and we focus on hospitality and retail. And, Sincere ended up being our management arm of the hotels, and where the passion drives on, managing hotels and really um, having an impact on the community and the people that are employed with us for sure.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. So was that a business, a separate business than the hospitality business, or is that something, are they similar?
So it's a joint venture, right? So Door Capital started as raising capital and just allocating that capital into real estate, and it was focused on hospitality, retail, and now we're branching into industrial. Um,
Oh,
and our hotels were managed by Prosper Management Company, which was our own management company. And then
hmm.
we made a JV with another group called Athos, who was being led by Danielle Snyder, who's our partner and CEO. She's a great leader, and she's helped grow the company now to about 14 hotels that we manage, and really excited to be a part of it, and continue this growth through this journey.
Wow, that is incredible. I've actually worked in hospitality myself and in the hotel industry, and I know it's like a ever-moving, fast-paced environment. So I'm really excited to dive into what you offer here and your business in
Tell me a
the
little bit about that experience, Kate. It's worth listening to it.
Oh my, well, I was a graphic designer for a hospitality management company. And so I designed menus and logos and a lot of just like printouts, and I was during COVID, so I did a lot of like collateral around COVID and procedures and things that hotels were going through. So yeah, that I did that for a couple of years before podcasting.
Wow. It's worth an episode of that.
It was, it was a fun journey, and it helped me to see the world a little bit more. I saw a lot of the United States because it really helped with, I was able to stay at some of our properties and things like that. And so, but it is a hustle bustle for sure.
It's a non-stop business for sure. So what made you move into podcasting? I'm just curious.
Well, I started in live radio 5 years ago and just did it for fun. Somebody's like, "Hey, do you want a radio show? You seem like you'd be good on radio." I was like, "Sure, why not?" And then when COVID happened, I turned it into a podcast, and now I And now I chat with people like yourself all the time. So
Amazing. You have a natural talent for that, I can tell. Okay.
thank you. I appreciate that. Well, let's dive back in. I'm super excited to hear more about what you're working on, with Sincere Hospitality currently. So looking at your, it takes a team, right? So I'd love to learn about your team and company culture. So how many current team members do you have, and what's your company culture like?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the passions we thrive on, and we really look to build a people-centric culture, right? I think that what really caught my attention of partnering with this great group of people, and I think we're at a stage where we have 13 corporate employees, and I would say about 180 employees total in the hotels that nonetheless we're responsible for all of those families and lives that are putting their their um their lives in their hands, at least their employment part of it.
Mhm.
And I'm really fortunate to be surrounded by very talented people, really smart people. That's one of the things that I think has taken us to grow from, where we were three to a year ago. A little bit or more, like a year and a half ago, we had only 4 hotels. Right now we have 14, and I think we're at that point in time where we have finally been able to break even to a point where we're ready to grow, right? We're ready to explode and scale to the next level. It's the challenging part, and I think that that's going to be part of my role now to kind of look for those contracts, kind of align with people and the vision of hotel owners that want to really take their hotel to the next level.
Oh, definitely. That sounds incredible. And what a huge growth in a year and a half to go from 4 to 14. Well, that actually leads perfectly into some of my next question. What
Mhm.
is, I'd like to share a challenge that you faced and you overcame as a business owner. So what is something that you went through in those first few years of business that you overcame?
Yeah, it was tough at the beginning. We started right on COVID 2020,
Mm,
and we were raising capital. You know, our validation thesis happened on March of 2020, and we were, doing our roadshow in Mexico, kind of talking to investors, see what kind of feedback we would be getting. And it seemed really positive, and right when we were there, we started listening to this news that the the borders were being closed. And so we just flew back, and it was like, well, what the heck are we gonna do, right? It's like we just started this process, and we really didn't know what a pandemic would be like. So
yeah.
we did a lot of research, sorry, on history, kind of think, backwards to what has happened in other countries, right? What happened here, and we decided to move forward in June of 2020, right? After three months after that. And I think it was a scary moment where, we were pitching to investors through Zoom. Thankfully, a lot of them had the time because they were at home, kind of working from home, and they had some availability to kind of listen to everyone that was going through something, right?
Yeah.
So we did about 180 to 200 pitch, Zoom interviews to be able to attract 13 families that trusted in us. And it took us about, I would say, good 16 months for us to get our first hotel. And,
Wow.
I gotta say that around January or February of 2021, we were so far off from the goal that I was like, I don't think we're gonna make it. I had left all my stuff in Detroit. I have sold everything to get this started. I had moved my family here, and so I was in a lot of in this mindset where you're trying to survive, right? But
Hmm.
then once the first hotel happened, like things just dramatically changed, right? Like motivation came back up. We went for another deal. A deal happened 2 months after that. And so, everything just starting to to evolve. So I guess it's just part of that process where you're sitting for a long time, right? And
Mm.
suddenly you start seeing the fruits come up and kind of take that moment to know that, that reflection in time where you go through these hard times, right? That you kind of look back and think that what you have done, it's worth it, right? It just takes time.
Wow, what an incredible story. There were so many golden nuggets you mentioned there, for other business owners too, to understand like that perseverance, and you literally weathered the biggest storm with COVID. And so that shows a lot of determination, and when you get that first win, it like changes the ball game so much.
Yeah, yeah. And let me tell you just a short story because, the first hotel we bought, it was so small in size and in room count that we were looking to partner with a management company to run our hotel.
Yeah.
And we just couldn't really find someone that would be interested because this hotel, was a small hotel. It was right in the middle of COVID, so it wasn't doing great revenues. And that's when we decided to start our own management company because we really didn't have much of an option.
Hmm.
And, I think that part was also scary when you took over the first hotel. I remember the owner came to my desk and dropped the keys on my desk and said, "Okay, good luck. Bye-bye. I'm out of here." Right? And so how am I gonna run this hotel? And so, I remember running that hotel for about 4 months, being the GM of it and kind of putting the team together there. And it's really exciting to look back and see where things started and now where things are, right? So yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. And what really caught my eye was the name of your company being Sincere Hospitality. And I think that says something. So could you share a bit about the name?
Yeah, I think it's part of that, you know, focus and that differentiator we think we have as a company, of sincere hospitality, right? What really that means, it's everything around you. It's transparent, it's sincere, and that's the way it should be. And that's from, our employees and the ownership people and the ownership, of the hotels that we align with, right? Um, Making sure we're looking for the best of their interest, that make sure that we align our, service to reach their goals, which I think is crucial in this business. And as as simple and as silly as it sounds, is not something that you find very common. And but most important, I think it's the way we live our culture, right? With a lot of transparency and just making sure that people come first before anything else.
That's so true. And in such a moving industry, I think that's like ultimately is so important. So I love that you're doing that. Now kind of looking at your clients, like if were to walk through your doors or check you out online, how would I know I would be a good fit for you?
So could you repeat the question?
If I were, say, a client looking for your services, how would I know I'd be like a good fit for you? Like your ideal client?
So I guess if you believe in people, if you believe that it takes a team to build a good business, I think we have a really good shot of being partners, right? Because if you think that, you know, money would solve the problems by just, paying things or paying for people, without actually caring of what behind it and what drives them, then I just don't think there's alignment, right? But when there is, this understanding of how talent really moves the needle, and what leadership can truly trigger the good results, then I think that's when everything aligns and kind of help us walk through the same path, because it usually takes some time to turn around these hotels. It's not like, most of the time, it's not like we're getting the best hotels or the best performing hotels because, they're already doing well, right? There's no need to make a change. It's usually the ones we get is because, the owners are struggling because, there's issues from an operation perspective, from a product perspective, revenue
Mhm.
perspective. And so, it does take time it does take time to make the changes and turn around these things, which I think is something we really strive and really have a good drive and a good team on, just turning around these non-performing assets into top of the market. And
Mhm.
we've done it several times, and it's just amazing to see. Some are quicker than the others, but it all starts with the leadership at the hotel, right? If you have strong leaders, then that goes into the culture of the employees, the front desk, the housekeeping team. Everybody cares about the guests that come in. Then guests return back, and you kind of start to see this positive cycle that it's only a matter of time where guests realize they're being treated well, that they have the good amenities in place, right? And so
Mhm.
therefore you start being able to increase your occupancy and drive profits, right? And so it takes time, but you have to be really well aligned with the ownership groups, understanding what it really takes to turn these properties around and the challenges that we face through the process, right?
Definitely. Well, thank you for sharing about that. And I really, another golden nugget is just that looking at how you're building a strong foundation with your clients and their teams. And I think that's incredible.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And now I'd like to dive into part of the Q&A where we talk about a challenge you're currently faced with, because as we know, as business owners, there's always something that we are challenged with. So we do this part to kind of create that relatability and transparency and just share where you're at so other business owners know they're not alone and you're not alone. So what is something that you're currently working through, maybe a challenge you're facing in business? Maybe you want to make it to another goal and you're struggling with that. Is there anything currently that you're kind of working through?
Yeah, I mean, I guess uh, overall, and I think it's something that it relates to the different businesses that we're part of and that we have. It's the uncertainty that we're living in, right? I think we continue to see the effects of what happened through COVID, right? Of how things just change through the nature of, you know, what happened on a macroeconomic level, right?
Hmm.
And what has what has triggered because of that. And
Hmm.
just to say an example, our insurance premiums, almost triple in the past 3 years, and that's a fixed expense that you couldn't underwrite, 3 years ago, right? It was really natural to see just a 2%, 3% increase, and suddenly you're hit with this fixed cost that has a huge impact in your profitability, right? We have labor, right, that has increased in cost, and inflation has really driven the issues that we see right now, where we are looking at a shifting culture where we see businesses asking for tips everywhere, right? Because the businesses it's having a hard time sustaining the employees with just the competitive labor market that's out there. And
Hmm.
and lastly, I would say, even from a property tax perspective, all of the values have gone up because of, inflation and just the market value as a whole. I think we've seen a short decrease this year, but nonetheless, I think, we're facing a lot of challenges through this path, from a revenue perspective, right? That it's really tough to underwrite, and it's really tough to forecast because
Yeah.
it's changing and evolving in every day, right? If we talk about tariffs, what is that causing? Is people really traveling less from other countries right now? And I think all of that has an effect in our hotels, right? I think, but nonetheless, I think real estate and and something that COVID taught us is that travel, it will never stop. I don't know if you recall, but
Yeah.
we were we were stuck in our homes for 3 months, and 3 months later, everybody just soared out their houses and wanted to travel, right? They just wanted to have experiences. And
Yeah.
real estate has also shown to be a resilient business, right? Where where it goes through cycles. We had tough times in 2008. We have tough times right now. But I think if we have that long-term vision, we'll come across, really a really good time in our life. What I think is right now is just driving this wave that's being tough. It's been challenging, going through this cycle. At least from our perspective, that's what we've been seeing. And nonetheless, the growth that we have envisioned. I mean, we come from, you know, putting our team together, trying to break even on a monthly basis, right? And kind of get us to the next step. So scaling has been also that kind of challenge where we're at that point where we really need everybody on deck, right? Trying to make sure we have our track record, and we're turning these hotels around and things are looking good, so we can be able to attract new owners to a group that want to be served by us, and that we continue to grow it as well. So those are, kind of the few challenges that I've seen
Mhm.
lately, and that we continue to thrive on. And I think if we have that long-term vision, I think we're going to come out really strong.
Definitely. Well, thank you for sharing about that and, seeing what you're working on in the long-term vision. Now I'd like to go into a fun part of the Q&A where it's called the rapid fire questions, where I ask you four questions and you answer very top of mind.
Sounds good, Kay. Bring it on.
All right. Question number one is, what is the key to success for you?
I think resiliency and focus. I would say those are the two main ones. I think, you know, the sun comes out for everybody, and it's just a matter of focusing on grinding and going out there and looking for what really drives the business, and holding into it. Like I said, when we started, I was really doubting about it, and I'm thankful for my wife that said, we took this leap of faith. We moved here, so we're not gonna stop until you come around, right? And so I had that aspirational and that motivation I found in her, and in my family, to come across that resiliency that I believe is really what help you succeed, right? Because it's not a matter if everybody has challenges in business, right? Everybody goes through cycles. It's not a matter if you will have them or not. It's a matter of when will you have them, right? And so you just gotta be willing to live with those challenges and accept them as they are, as challenges, right? And just being able to hold on to them and being able to look forward to what's next without losing your ground on the present.
100%, yes. Second question is, what is a piece of advice you have for other business owners?
uh, it goes towards the same lines, I think. If you fail, because everybody does, and no matter, you know when you look at Instagram, you only see the positive things that are around you, right? And everybody's successful in Instagram. But beyond every success becomes a lot of failures, right? And be willing to fail. I think look at failure from another perspective as a learning curve, right? Where you really take that as your next step to build from, and you're closer to success than you were before that. So embrace failure, be resilient, and continue, and be focused on your vision.
100%. Number three is, it could be a book, an article, a podcast, just some piece of content that you've read or watched recently.
Um, I just started reading this book, this Psychology
Oh,
of
The
Money.
Psychology of Money.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to put that on my list. I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah, please do. I just started it, and I'm actually, I'm really happy about what I've been finding. So, um, I don't know if I'm ready yet to recommend it, but still, I think it's a good start. Um, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. Final question in the rapid fire is, if you could wave a magic wand, and overnight improve one aspect of your business, what would it be?
Oof. Um, that's a good question. Okay. Um, if we could improve one aspect of our business, I gotta think deeper about that one, Kay. I don't know if I have the answer to you right away as a rapid fire question.
That's that's totally okay. It's a big question.
hmm Um, you know what? I think having everybody, thriving towards the same um ownership alignment, right? Like our clients alignment, like making sure that everybody understand what the owners really want in their businesses, in their assets, and how everybody plays a key role on making sure that we do that for them, right?
Yeah.
Because every asset has its own business plan, right?
Hmm.
And that business plan is pretty much driven by the owner's um, aspirations for it, right? Some want to
Hmm.
retire, right? Some want to sell in the next 2 years. Some want passive income. Some want to be part of it while they learn how to be, a hotel manager. And so you gotta treat them from their perspective and not from our perspective, right? I think making sure that we understand what those goals are from them and then aligning everybody towards those goals is something that I really want to be able to continue pushing for. And I think we're doing good. I think we could do better, right?
Yes. Well, thank you for sharing that. Before we get to our final question of the day, how can people connect with you and your business online?
I'm pretty open and really receptive. I'm really happy to meet people, personally through Zoom or whatever. So you can either, email me at gc@sincerehospitality.com, or you can follow me in LinkedIn and, just touch base from there and, happy to take it from there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. For our final question today, what is most inspiring to you today?
I think my family, it's just there's nothing else that motivates me more than being to see them grow, be close to them, and being able to provide and travel and be the kids go on and so fast in their lives that you really want to take every moment to you know be close to them and enjoy this gift of life.
Mm,
And so I do find in them my inspiration to have them recognize, what we've gone through. It's not easy to be an immigrant, being away from family, being away from close relatives, right?
mhm,
And that all of this sacrifice, it's because of them, right?
mhm,
So I see that as an inspiration for, you know, share with them that history, right? And make them understand, how important it is for them to strive. And so anything that I could do in that regard to lead the right way, just gonna do it, right? Whatever that means.
Oh, wow. Well, that is so powerful. Thank you for sharing that story. And thanks for being a guest. It was so fun to talk to you and hear about your business and the growth that you're striving for.
And the same here, Kate. Thanks so much for the time. I really enjoy this, and I look forward to meeting you sometime in person.
Definitely.